Take me back to the place I know, with the mystery shack and the forest gnomes. I'm already packed, so come on, let's go. Don't get me started, my heart's in Gravity Falls. Welcome to Mystery Shack Look Back, a nostalgic time capsule and no spoiler book club of the original Gravity Falls fandom. We are your curators. I'm Ella.
I'm Charlie. We have a guest with us today, Ella.
We do?
Oh, yes.
Could they be a returning guest?
It is, in fact, a returning guest. We have Kyle Carrozza back.
Oh my gosh, creator of Cartoon Network's Mighty MAGISWORDS, back.
Yes, the creator of Mighty MAGISWORDS is here with us.
Was in our Summerween episode. Welcome back, Kyle.
Thank you for having me back. It is I, Kyle Carrozza, here from the future year, 2022.
Yeah.
We come from the future, the far-off year of 2022. Really? So, Kyle, we have a little tradition on this show.
Oh, tradition.
So a guest at a museum is anyone who is being given the tour.
Mm-hmm.
The curator is the one who designs the tour.
Ah.
And you've been around the block here. You've seen our museum.
I would be willing to bet that you could give a tour of Mystery Shack Look Back if you needed to.
Oh, yeah. If, things were to align in a certain way in which I was to be given a responsibility that no sane person would give me, yeah, I could totally put that together.
We're about to do that.
Well, great news. We are no sane people.
Because we're not sane.
And you are about to graduate into a docent.
Ooh, excellent. I looked up that word the other day when you said it on the show, and I needed to know what that meant.
I knew it because I was a docent once. I was a volunteer tour guide at a museum in a past life.
So, if you would please raise your right hand and place your left hand on this Journal 3.
Okay.
We will begin the oath, the swearing in of the docent.
Repeat after us.
Repeat after us.
You actually got that. No one else gets that. Okay.
I know. I noticed that on the episode I was listening to as well, so I made sure to do it.
Good.
I state your name.
I state your name, which is Kyle Carrozza.
Good.
Do solemnly swear to uphold.
Do solemnly swear to uphold.
The duties of a Mystery Shack Look Back docent.
The duties of a Mystery Shack Look Back docent.
I just got that. To preserve the history.
To preserve the history.
And protect the mystery.
And protect the mystery.
Of the Gravity Falls fandom.
Of the Gravity Falls fandom.
And I promise.
To
give Ella and Charlie an advanced screening of Grup Jam 2: A New Legacy.
To give Ella and Charlie an advanced screening of Grup Jam 2: A New Legacy.
Confirmed.
Yes!
You heard it here first, folks. We totally just did not, pull a Bugs Bunny into getting Kyle to say that. That is a real thing.
Coming soon to HBO Max in another Spider-Verse.
Exactly.
The HBO Max exclusive seasons of MAGISWORDS are only available in other universes.
the Andrew Garfield seasons of Mighty MAGISWORDS.
Is he Prohias?
He's the lamest Prohias, and yet he's the protagonist. If you really pay attention.
Well, people say that he's the worst Prohias, but the best Magisword wielder. Whereas Tobey Maguire is the worst Magisword wielder, but the best Prohias, and Tom Holland is sort of the best at both, apparently.
Yeah, maybe Charlie, that's what your Prohias impression is. Maybe that's the Tom Holland of Prohias.
Hey, everybody, it's me, Prohias. I came here from another dimension. Whoa, that guy looks just like me.
So what are we here to talk about besides Grup Jam 2: A New Legacy?
Well, Ella, I'm glad you asked.
I'm glad I asked too, Charlie, because I don't know.
I was so glad that you asked.
Ella, I'm super glad you asked, Charlie.
Ella, I'm super glad you asked, Charlie.
I'm glad that you're glad.
Turns out we're talking about Gravity Falls.
Oh, right.
What? I didn't just perform an oath to that.
So we are actually talking about the 5th episode of Season 2 and the 25th episode overall. It is called Soos and the Real Girl.
Oh, you mean the one that premiered on September 22nd, 2014 on Disney XD, right?
That's right, Ella. It was directed by Matt Brawley and written by Mark Rizzo and Alex Hirsch. Do you know?
Wow.
How many? Do you know those people, Kyle?
Only Alex.
Okay. You had to bombard him with mac and cheese, as you told in your previous episode, Summerween.
Right.
And also, another reason to go back and listen to Summerween is Kyle gave us basically exclusive distribution to a theme song from one of Alex's student films that is not archived online.
That's right.
So please listen to that one if you enjoy what you heard here today, or if you're just curious about the lost works of Alexander Hirsch.
So I guess without further ado, shall we watch Soos and the Real Girl?
Let's shall.
The part where you play a promo to symbolize us watching the episode and laughing and crying and sharing.
Sharing. Hey, you want to share? I'm going to share my screen.
Ow, ow.
What is this living nightmare? It's a brand new Gravity Falls.
Oh, I gotta hide.
What's Soos gotten into?
It's the first time he's missed work ever.
And what's gotten into Soos?
I ate the decorational bamboo in a Chinese restaurant. Like a big gold panda.
Watch a cray-cray new Gravity Falls next Monday night at 8:30 on Disney XD.
Your face is good. I'm a Soos.
Oh, good times. Good times.
Yay.
So we just watched Soos and the Real Girl, and Grunkle Stan is now canonically married.
Yeah. It was a great idea. Who are you to judge? Oh, this was a mistake.
In our coverage of Irrational Treasure, our guest Miles said he loves Grunkle Stan, and I said, well, then why don't you marry him? And he said, no, he already gets oh, wait, I can't talk about that yet. So there you go, listeners.
The payoff. Finally. Everyone was
Here's
waiting
your
for
reward for paying attention.
This is the wedding episode of Gravity Falls.
Yeah, that's really ultimately what it's about.
Excellent Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah, and the thrust of the plot is also a wedding.
Yeah.
Soos's cousin Reggie is getting married, and his abuelita asks him to find a date.
His
which
abuelita,
his abuelita, challenges him to get a date. First off, Soos's grandpa's in hell. They kind of hit us with that pretty early.
Before I ascend to heaven and live with the angels.
And with Grandpa.
No, he is not there.
Actually, the very beginning of this episode's pretty brutal, too. It immediately starts with Mabel getting her braces caught in the screen door, which I always think is hilarious. Because there's just one establishing shot, and then boom.
And then, much in the tradition of Alex torturing his storyboarders in the script-driven show, his script did not describe how one would get braces caught in a screen door.
See, I tend to enjoy that kind of thing when I work on script-driven shows because I kind of take that as like free reign to come up with something completely ridiculous. Like I use that as free reign to try to get into trouble.
And I think a little of that, you got to balance out. Like you can't do the storyboarder's job for them, but you also can't give them nothing to work on top of.
Yeah,
Kyle, as we've established, you're my inner child.
Yes.
Whenever someone gets me to write a script for them, I try to sneak as many references to the Harry Potter fan fiction My Immortal in as I can to see how many they catch.
Of course. Very good. So this is kind of the first. We've had shorts where Soos was a lead protagonist, but here's our first full episode.
Our first
all about Soos.
Soos-driven episode.
How do we feel? I mean, we know that Soos is the most perfect man, but can he carry the weight of an entire episode?
The answer's yes. We just watched it.
Yes.
We already got the answer.
He's like, there are characters he is less like than Homer Simpson, and Homer Simpson has carried a lot of entire episodes of The
That's
Simpsons.
true. He is kind of a Homer Simpson type. That is a good point. I wonder what it would sound like if Homer Simpson said some Soos-esque dialogue.
Yeah, what would it sound like?
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Hey, dude, I'm gonna fix this cuckoo clock. Oh, a video game girl fell in love with me.
Don't you work on that darn hippie radio show?
I've recorded one thing for them.
Okay, Steven, who is one of the writers, does the best Lisa Simpson impression I have ever heard.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
Combined, unstoppable.
Oh my god, I gotta make this happen.
That Homer is scary, uncanny. Like,
Okay, let's talk about Gravity Falls.
No, we have to talk about Gravity Falls.
Oh,
it's so scary. It's so good. So when Soos's cousin Reggie is getting married, I remember that was like part of the summary of the episode, like, oh, Soos's cousin Reggie is getting married and he needs a date. And I thought we were going to get a connection to Legend of the Gobblewonker, because in Legend of the Gobblewonker, the proposal that gets interrupted by Stan, the guy's name is Reginald. And so I always thought that when he mentioned his cousin Reggie in Fight Fighters, I thought they were the same guy, and I thought we were going to get to see them again.
And also in Fight Fighters, he does mention that Reggie potentially died. He can't remember, but he was just talking to him about it. So I think this episode confirms he is almost probably alive.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed that it wasn't a connection to that other character, that it was, as he puts it, the poor man Soos, but it is funny.
Well, it's
that he looks exactly like
so
Soos.
much like Alonso Ramirez Ramos designed Abuelita and largely created her. He's also behind everything about Reggie and Soos's new girlfriend Melody.
Ah,
it's just decided that as the one who campaigned for Soos to be more heavily involved and campaigned for Soos to be canonically Mexican, it's just like, you need a Soos thing, just give it to Alonso. They also said he figured out Soos's design.
Right, made it appealing. Reggie is just Soos with an actual mustache.
He's cool Soos.
No, Soos is already cool.
If someone had to show up as like the cool kid in a Soos show, but it had to still be played by Soos, this is what that character would look like.
But yeah, it works as a Soos episode because it's just he's always earnest. He's always, like, genuine in everything that he does. And even when all the women of Gravity Falls that he attempts to flirt with are either horrified or in some way dramatic about it, that isn't really warranted because he's just being Soos.
Yeah. They describe in the commentary that they were really clear at, please do not make Soos like the aggressor in these situations. Make it more like an alien who just heard about flirting and is trying to try it out.
That's a perfect way to explain it.
Yeah, he just has terrible luck. He's not... Yeah, exactly. My favorite example... when he accidentally bumps into a woman and attempts to undo, like, a mouse click because he's been gaming for so long. And she just says,
"You can't undo who you are."
Dipper and Mabel buy Soos a dating sim so he could kind of practice.
Because he is terrible at it the first time around. Which is, like, relatable.
The dating sim, it's alive and haunted!
Maybe Soos should have just... gone on estrogen instead. That's what worked for me.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
Are you your own girlfriend?
Yeah.
It's like, now I can talk to girls in the mirror. I just
look in the mirror.
So I hadn't watched this episode in a long time, and I feel like there is now having rewatched it, I feel like there's no way this didn't inspire Doki Doki Literature Club.
Interesting that you say that.
So I will talk about this one.
Yeah.
I did an absurd amount of research.
What?
Yeah. Are you surprised that I did an absurd amount of research?
How could this
on a
be?
very specific subject?
It is more that both Doki Doki Literature Club and Romance Academy 7 are a parody of the same game. It both feel like they're a parody of just the general dating sim genre, but they are a parody very specifically of the Konami game Tokimeki Memorial, which was never released in the US.
Well, yeah.
But a lot of articles about it came to the US. And this is only like the second dating sim, by the way. There was... Yeah, so the genre didn't really exist yet. And this was also during the those crazy Japanese era of discourse. So a lot of the articles focused on Japanese teenagers are playing a game about talking to girls. Can't they talk to real girls?
Oh, okay.
This is gonna make the... Yeah, so I have to feel that Alex Hirsch must have read the New York Times article, or someone on the crew must have, because no one ever actually used a dating sim to practice talking to women and then got addicted to it and never talked to women. That's not a real thing.
Yeah, but that's exactly what happens to Soos in this episode.
And that was exactly how Americans talked about Tokimeki Memorial when it first came out.
Yeah, and they do, like, the basement dweller jokes in this episode, too, so it's kind of...
So I remembered reading the name Tokimeki Memorial on the Gravity Falls wiki, and I was listening to, I believe it was What a Cartoon, and they said, oh, there's a great video by Action Button about Tokimeki Memorial that if you're curious, you should check out. And I'm like, oh, that's going to help me with the podcast. The video by Action Button Reviews is 6 hours long.
Oh.
But an interesting thing happened. I got a full-time job an hour away. And I'm like, boy, these drives are boring. I wish I had something, I don't know, like an hour to listen to that I could resume on the way. Wait, Soos and the Real Girl is coming up. So I have watched the entire 6-hour video, and this is going to be a weird thing to say. I recommend our listeners to as well.
No, I was about to ask. I don't think that's weird at all.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. But and Tim Rogers regularly tells the viewer, please take breaks. This is not designed to watch in one sitting.
Stretch and, exercise.
No,
water.
He does not think you should watch it in one day. He says treat it like a miniseries. I just have uploaded it as one video.
I see.
How come Peter Jackson never said that?
You should pop up every so often to be like, you could go to the bathroom.
Hi everyone, Ringo here. You should probably go take a whiz.
That's the wrong Lord of the Rings, Kyle. And listen to the first episode of How Did This Not Get Made if you want to know what I was just talking about there. But
well, we should probably get back to the podcast.
So the cover girl, the character on the game cover of Tokimeki Memorial is Shiori Fujisaki, who is a redheaded girl who is in every club. And then the game opens with the protagonist saying, oh, I've known Shiori since we were kids. I've always secretly had a crush on her. So it's kind of establishing that the true ending of the game is if you successfully romance Shiori, not the other girls. Mm-hmm. But this is a Konami game from 1994, so... that's not easy.
Back when Konami tried.
Yeah, I know. When you start working on your skills, like if you work on your swimming, then the girls from the swim team or the girl from the swim team will start flirting with you. Or if you start... So that is how you start these romance paths. As I said, Shiori is in every club. So to date her, you have to max out every skill and avoid dating the other girls related to those skills. However, you can't just completely ignore all of the other girls that are interested in you, because if Shiori finds out that every time anyone else calls you, you do not pick up the phone, she'll be like, oh, that person's kind of a jerk. I shouldn't date them. So Tim Rogers of Action Button Reviews, I believe, clocked something. Oh, no, I think it was 100 hours. I think he clocked 100 hours before he finally dated Shiori Fujisaki. So that's fun as a video game. But where both GIFfany from Gravity Falls and Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club come from is, what would it feel like to be Shiori Fujisaki? Because you think getting a girlfriend is hard for Soos. What if the only way to get a boyfriend is if your boyfriend can defeat the end boss in a Konami game without the code?
Must be a very lonely existence.
So that is why the plot in Soos and the Real Girl is that she has killed the programmers as revenge for the life she has led.
Yeah.
And the plot in Doki Doki Literature Club, spoilers, I guess, is that Monica kills the other girls so she can be the only dateable one. So I don't think it super long answer to your question, Kyle.
So that leads us to GIFfany herself, or GIFfany, depending on your regional dialect. Voiced by Jessica DeChico, who is also the voice of Tambry on Gravity Falls and Flame Princess on Adventure Time. And she is terrifying as this character.
Oh my god, she does the cute voice when he first boots up the game and she's just saying like she's saying pre-programmed lines from a dating sim. She does that so good.
Hi there, my name is GIFfany. I'm a schoolgirl at School University. Will you help me carry my books?
Once she becomes very jealous when Soos finds a real girlfriend. The absolutely delightful melody. She starts to become a villainous character, and Jessica DeChico is just amazing in this role.
I won't let another girl take you away from me,
GIFfany,
Soos!
calm down!
You're mine, Soos! Mine!
Pause!
And it is made all the more horrifying by the pixel animation of Paul Robertson, who also animated Rumble McSkirmish in Fight Fighters.
And what's interesting is in the Fight Fighters commentary, they talk about how hard it was to integrate him into the backgrounds interacting with the characters since, it was done by one animator in a different...
So now GIFfany can't.
Yes, GIFfany is on screens the whole time, and when she enters the world, it is through a properly animated animatronic. But, Kyle, you requested this episode because you're a huge fan of Paul Robertson, correct?
Yeah. Paul Robertson was an animator slash pixel artist who I was already a fan of before he started doing work for Gravity Falls, and so it was kind of like a big, happy fanboy moment when Rumble's McSkirmish first showed up.
Were you on board with his art before Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
I think that might have been when I first became aware of him as a name, but I had already enjoyed some games that he worked on, such as...
Gotcha.
Whoa, you're an OG!
Yeah, so I think he'd already done animation for Drawn to Life by that point, and I think he'd worked on Shantae as well.
But yeah, he delivers some spectacular shots. There's basically the initial, reveal that, not that it was particularly disguised, Soos is just oblivious, which is fine, and we love him, but when she turns, fully sinister after Soos pauses her game, it's this great, she lifts her head up, and it's just, the one eye, and her whole, head is shrouded in the shadow, and it's...
I have seen so much fan art of that particular pose with the line, "You paused me."
Yeah, it's got creepypasta energy, definitely.
Oh, it's really it's one of the creepiest things on this show to my personal fears.
Yeah.
There is a lot of horror to Paul Robertson's personal work. It's kind of this exact middle place between super adorable and extra super duper creepy. And so that kind of made him the perfect person to choose to animate GIFfany.
But yeah, computer horror is a very, specific genre or type of horror, I think. It has a particular effect because it's something that
as well as the very anime posing on the horror stuff. I don't watch a lot of anime anymore, so a lot of my experience with anime was as a child, so I associate anime horror posing, like that one eye shot, with things that were scary and I haven't seen since I was 7. So
it's deep in that subconscious.
Yeah.
Man, I can't wait for the year 2000.
If you're way into Paul's artwork and animation as in this and want to see more of his personal stuff, I highly recommend his Patreon, because I think even for just the regular dollar asking point, you can see his pieces gradually come together. It's starting with a sketch and then building, pixel stuff over it, and then ultimately resulting in a fully animated loop of a lot of spinning plates. It's just all of his stuff that he's doing, other than, when he's doing a professional job. Sometimes you can see him working on Rick and Morty stuff through that Patreon.
Yeah, and I know he also joined the pantheon of animators who did a Simpsons opening.
Oh, did he? I don't think I saw that. I'm going to have to check that out.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, The Simpsons, that show with...
Kyle's never seen it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's got this guy Homer Simpson on it. He's great.
Kyle's got that perfect Homer Simpson impression, but he's not even sure why everyone's so impressed when he does that voice. He's like, what is this voice? Why does everyone like it?
No.
Who is this?
It's so weird.
I didn't even say a word.
I'm going to make you do that every time we talk.
Hey, Homer.
Yeah.
You also, in addition to being a big fan of Paul Robertson, you said your fan art is in the Rockafire Explosion documentary?
So, in the movie, once you see Damon's place, Smitty's Super Service Station in Little Improv, Mississippi, you can see like he not only is he like standing there with a piece of my artwork, he also kind of like makes sure that other things I drew for him end up in the shots. So you can see several pieces of my artwork in the film.
That's awesome.
So we talked about it with Michael on part 1 of our coverage of Gravity Falls shorts.
Yeah.
But yes, there used to be a restaurant called Showbiz Pizza that housed a band called Rockafire Explosion. It's kind of a precursor to Chuck E. Cheese and also kind of is Chuck E. Cheese. It's confusing.
There's a pretty good Defunctland episode about it.
Yeah, watch the Defunctland episode on it. I'm not going to explain it to you when Kyle, Kyle. He's Kevin.
When Kevin
does such a better job.
The Purge, as I call him.
But yes, so when Soos does get a real date with the real girl, the titular character,
the other woman,
Melody, he takes her on a date to Hoo Ha Owls. What is it?
I believe it's Hoo Ha the Owls Pizza Time Jamboree. I want to say that's what it is.
That's such a good name.
It's a fantastic place, and the backgrounds are just so specific and so like when they're sitting down, you can see like the McDonald's play place sort of tubes that you crawl through, and
also Chuck E. Cheese has play places sometimes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. But it's just like it's so evocative of that kind of establishment, and the way they use it after GIFfany takes it over is really clever, really creative, like using the ski balls as projectiles and using the pizza dish as a shield and a sled. It's a really interesting set piece that they create, and yes, it is all in service of this reference.
I will mention that of the animatronic band in Hoo Ha's, only 2 of the characters seem to be like very directly based on Rockafire Explosion members. The cheerleader Beaver is based on the character Mitzi Mozzarella, and the almost not disguised at all Hillbilly Bear is based on the character Billy Bob Broccoli, who himself is.
I think he's a beaver here. Just
is
to
he a
make
beaver?
It
okay.
Almost not Billy Bob. Yeah, I think he has a beaver tail, but other than that,
I mean, Barrow also resembles that character from the short The Tooth, which is why we brought it up in the shorts episode.
Yeah, Billy Bob, I've seen Billy Bob a few times, like, on the internet before I realized what it was. He's scary.
He's kind of a meme at this point, like...
He's scary.
But I've seen a few memes with his face for, like, creepy comedic effect. Like, I think he's the one in the meme where it's like the first panel is, like, looking to the side, and then the second panel is just looking forward. I think that's him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because like the guy who designed those characters just has kind of an off-putting drawing style.
To draw monsters, you must know monsters.
Yeah, and so like I've drawn more appealing versions of the characters, but I've also seen
and they're in a movie.
Yeah, and I've seen other fan artists do like far more appealing versions of them, and then Five Nights at Freddy's became a thing, and so it became more of a thing to draw them super scary and lean into it.
That's almost certainly necessary to talk about. So,
it is absolutely a reference to Rockafire Explosion and nothing else, people. But yes, the general public usually does not always understand how long it takes to create an animated episode of a television series. So I remember even before this episode came out, when the trailer for season 2 came out, it was like a sizzle reel of a bunch of clips, and one of them was the animatronics coming to life. Now, Five Nights at Freddy's, which is a video game, and that's all I know about it.
Okay, it's created by a guy named Scott, I believe, and it is based on Chuck E. Cheese, not Rockafire Explosion, and the gameplay is just a 1-to-1 clone of Night Trap.
That's true.
And I don't care much about it either. So when I was like in my Night Trap phase, I was telling people about it, and they're like, "Oh, so it's played kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's played exactly like gameplay has to come from somewhere."
Yours was a phase. The original Five Nights at Freddy's came out on August 8th, 2014, which was right after the premiere of season 2 of Gravity Falls. So it is.
I didn't even realize it came out so close to it.
It is impossible for any of this to be an intentional reference to Five Nights at Freddy's.
You hear in the commentary, they're all just exhausted by having to talk about that, because that was like the most common question anyone on the show got at the time. It was like, "Oh, I love the episode where you referenced Five Nights at Freddy's." Here's Well, no, here's... Okay, fine. The Thing is a 1982 John Carpenter film. But lots of people are afraid of animatronics.
It's very annoying to be a Rockafire Explosion fan while Five Nights at Freddy's exists. And, like, I'm trying to just enjoy it as its own thing, not connected to this horror game that I don't care about. It's like, I'm happy that everybody's having a good time with that game.
Kind of like watching The Thing in the Age of Among Us.
Yeah.
Or, I gotta tell you guys about what it was like when my main fandom was Homestar Runner when Homestuck blew up.
Oh, okay.
I always used to get them confused. I know I've said this before on Fahugo Pods.
Yeah, that drove me nuts in like 2013 when Homestar hadn't updated for 4 years. And
whoa, how come I'm not in color?
Hey, this guy doesn't have arms either. Much like in Into the Bunker, there was no Guardians of the Galaxy reference. There is no Five Nights at Freddy's reference in Soos and the Real Girl. You can't reference recent things in animation. It would be awesome if you could. That'd be great. If your cartoon could be topical, that'd be good. It's never going to happen.
That would say being like putting Trump references in your Animaniacs reboot.
I know. Or like, I mean, you could do topical references, but you would have to balance that out by, you know, maybe like a choppy, like kind of
if you did it like a kind of paper
something you could produce in like a week,
kind of style. I guess that way you could do something.
Also, it's fun that you mention the reboot of Animaniacs because a friend of mine works on it. Actually,
is that person your inner child?
Yeah, he does also happen to be my inner child. He does some storyboards for it.
So the proprietor of Hoo Ha the Owls is Gary, and he is voiced by, for some reason, Paul Scheer.
Paul Scheer is... You've definitely seen him somewhere. I don't know what to say he's best known from, because I have not seen a thing without him in it.
I mean, I first became aware of him through The Daily Show.
Okay, that's a good one. I would say, if I were to guess, I mean, how did this get made, of course? And then, I don't know, maybe Disaster Artist in the Good Place? I don't know. For like art, for like younger people, I'm not sure. He's one of the people who works at the Good Place in the Good Place, and
was Matt Chapman on Gravity Falls yet?
In this episode?
Yeah.
By the time they got to this episode, yeah.
Yes.
Because Matt and Paul would have met on the Aquabat Super Show by this point, I think.
But yes, he plays the cowboy, the android. Oh, hey! He plays an animatronic in that one. In Android Cowboy, he is the titular character.
And he does, he voices a recurring antagonist on Big City Greens, I just found out.
That's true. And Paul Scheer's character in this episode of Gravity Falls has his iconic tooth gap, which
is baffling to me.
That
like,
means
was this...
that it was known that Paul Scheer would be this character during the concept, during the
design phase.
During the model sheet. And it's like... Well, the character has like 5 lines, maybe?
I mean, I love him. I love his dynamic with Stan off the bat. It's like he's clearly middle-aged, but to Stan, he's like a hipster.
Yes, yeah, he's like drawn to be like maybe 35 and calls himself a young man, says, you know, this is a young man's game, and gestures to his earring as if to say, see, I'm young.
Yeah, Stan is jealous that he has these animatronics that make so much money from children, and he's just, he points to his earring and then moves to take something out of his fanny pack. So he's just the whole package.
The whole fanny package.
Paul Scheer's Gary is excellent, but my favorite is Willie Badger, voiced by Matt Chapman, and it might be my favorite Matt Chapman role.
Who wants to get badgered?
It is the exact in-between of his Bubs voice, which is the shopkeeper from Homestar Runner.
It's in a better place, Strong Bad. Or rather, it's in the same place, but now it's got a big hole through it.
And his Larry Palarancini voice, which is the hair metal front man from Homestar Runner.
I wonder if he was intending to do Mr. Munch from Chuck E. Cheese at all when he was doing that voice.
Okay, I'm not going to be able to meet you eye to eye with Chuck E. Cheese and showbiz lore, Kyle. Mm-hmm. Who is that, and what do they sound like?
Mr. Munch is a big purple fuzzy monster, and after, they took all of the Showbiz pizzas and redressed them as Chuck E. Cheese characters, he became the keyboard player replacing Fats.
Got it.
And he has kind of a gravelly monster voice.
Okay.
And I just love the give me your money.
Wait, hang on. You're
What?
saying he was originally in Rocket Fire Explosion and is now in the Chuck E. Cheese band?
No. Back when Chuck E. Cheese took over all of the Showbiz locations, they decided that even though the Showbiz pizza restaurants were more popular, the Chuck E. Cheese characters were more popular.
Right.
So they took those more advanced animatronics and redressed them as Chuck E. Cheese characters and turned them into...
His body's in the Chuck E. Cheese band. It ain't him anymore.
Exactly. His metal workings are in the Chuck E. Cheese band.
Oh, okay. So that's just a new guy with his skeleton.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And brain. No, that's not me.
Just borrowing it.
In fact, you can see a very just unsettling video on YouTube of the instructions as to how to undress a Rocket Fire Explosion and redress it as Chuck E. Cheese band.
Oh, hey, yeah, speaking of disturbing Chuck E. Cheese instructions, I assume you've also seen the one when a Chuck E. Cheese costume is retired, it cannot be thrown out. It must be destroyed so that it can no longer be recognized as Chuck E. Cheese. I will find that and link that in the description. It is horrifying.
That is also actually how I want. That's going to be in my last will and testament.
Yeah, that's going to be your cremation ceremony.
Yeah.
Well, that's super funny considering how Chuck E. Cheese came to be. Chuck E. Cheese is Chuck E. Cheese because Nolan Bushnell and his guys purchased a coyote costume that didn't look anything like a coyote and looked more like a rat, and thus we got Chuck E. Cheese.
Wow!
In the fires in which he was forged. He must be destroyed.
I want to just restart this as a Showbiz and Chuck E. Cheese podcast with Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much, and I love learning!
So, Willie Badger's two biggest fans who call out to him and give him money, those are cameos of children that visited the Gravity Falls studio through the Make-A-Wish Foundation. They got to voice their characters, and the designs are based on them.
Yeah, they went
really
by
cool.
the office, got a little tour, got to record 1 or 2 lines, and then one of the artists drew a caricature of them, which turned into the model sheet for those 2 kids. Yeah.
Cool.
So the woman that Soos takes on the date, Melody,
is amazing.
Is wonderful.
And I love her.
And we love her.
She's so good because and they talk about this in the commentary. There is the risk of this just being girl Soos.
Right. And I worried that it was going to be that too when I watched this the first time.
It was in the first draft, supposedly, but they changed it, and now it is because Soos is still kind of a man-child because he is oblivious. He's not really 100% always aware of what's happening around him. Whereas Melody is aware of the adult world intimately and not happy about that.
And she respects Soos for just, just going for it, just following his bliss.
He is her idea of freedom. And that is why she approaches him. And there are these great lines that allude to that, like her saying,
"Believe it or not, I've been on worse dates.
Really?
Never date a magician."
Ew, why would I?
Or when they're on a date, the first thing she does is say,
"Itchy legs, itchy legs."
That is supposed to be implying that she never shaves her legs.
Yep, she just shaved.
Yeah, but had to for the date and is not used to the sensation of freshly shaved legs.
And she, there's a lot of little things. She plays with her ponytail in kind of an anxiety way, and
says, "Being an adult is the worst. Skewering meat, remembering to pay bills. I just want to ride tiny trains all day."
I adore her, and the voice is provided by Jillian Bell, who was not really, famous at this point, which is interesting. Jillian Bell, at this point, she's a main character on Workaholics. I've never met a person who's watched Workaholics. And she is, can I say villain? I'm going to say villain. She's the villain from 22 Jump Street.
Ah.
I remember just trying to Google her for this and being like...
Did Workaholics have a bunch of Thrilling Adventure Hour people in it?
I don't know anything about Workaholics other than I watched a compilation of the best of Jillian. Belk is her character's name. And now, of course, she finally has a vehicle. She finally has something, made for her to star in. And that is the film Brittany Runs a Marathon.
Ooh.
Also, in research for this, I watched a promo event she did for Brittany Runs a Marathon in which she was allowed to pick the moderator, and she picked Kate McKinnon.
Oh.
And it's just the two of them just improvising for an hour. I recommend it so much. Ella, link it in the description, please.
Yeah, I will. She's very funny, and we've seen some of her stand-up, right? There's videos of that.
Yes. She doesn't have a full special, but there are some clips from like stand-up, like Just for Laughs or whatever channels or something like that has some clips.
Yeah.
She's very funny. But there's a great bit in the interview with Kate McKinnon where when they finally get time to the questions, Kate McKinnon composes herself, stops laughing, develops a completely serious tone of voice, looks at her card as if she's reading something, looks up and says,
"What is your full address?" I'm not kidding. I went to reply immediately. Oh, this is my favorite Q&A.
I'm glad that they made her a full, a character and not just Girl Soos, because I think
Alex says actually so much of the character is actually from Jillian's delivery. He said this character, that her sweetness really comes from how Jillian approached these lines.
Right, and it's like we were saying before about the inherent sweetness of like a story that involves Soos. You have to keep it that way or else it doesn't feel authentic, and if she were just Girl Soos, it would have reflected badly on Soos as a protagonist, because it would feel like this whole episode was just a joke episode, which it is a very funny episode, but it's also, she makes it feel like a genuine story.
Yes, and, oh my gosh, I adore her.
Man, doing that with a character, like, kind of underwriting them and understanding that, just hoping that the actor that you're casting will bring them the rest of the way home as a character. It's such a kind of a daring thing to. It's kind of risky, but like it can really pay off.
Right.
I remember on MAGISWORDS I had like a character in particular where I'm like, okay, there's nothing particularly funny about the way this character is written, but if I cast Ricky Simons, who plays Gurr on Invader Zim, I know that this will be funny, and it totally worked.
Speaking of Hot Topic, we get to see the Gravity Falls equivalent of Hot Topic in this episode, Edgy on Purpose, and there's the cringiest joke about gender nonconformity in this series.
That's true, where Soos tries to guess someone, but what my favorite part about this joke, the reason this joke works for me as a non-binary person, he's trying to guess this person's gender, and the person does not help him. They don't walk away. They're engaged in the conversation. They are looking at him.
I know plenty of people for whom the goal of their gender presentation is this. Exactly.
Yes. So I feel this is just speaking from my, and I obviously don't represent all non-binary people. There can be those of us who are offended by this, but I like it because I want to know this person. I'm like, yeah, yes, this person's trying to guess your gender and you're just in it. You're like, yeah,
yeah. It works on that level, and it works on the level of Soos is Soos. Like we said, there's no malice in any of his attempts at flirting.
And you speak of the it's called Beebly Boops, which is also what's been on Candy's keyboard, but also every computer run object in the series thus far. But we get to see the rest of the shops at the mall, and they have just the funniest names.
Yeah, what was the one that we noticed this time? Overalls are cool now.
Overalls are cool now is in the background. There's, of course, Edgy on Purpose.
Melody works at Meat Cute, a meat stand.
Yeah, which is a joke I didn't get yet when that episode is out.
No, I didn't get that joke either when this episode. I had somehow never heard that term in terms of I actually found out. I was in a sketch writing class at Upright Citizens Brigade, and someone wrote a sketch where it was like a time loop where someone keeps getting into mute cutes, and I was like, wait, was that a joke in Gravity Falls?
You piece it together. My favorite Melody moment is definitely when Soos is preparing to fight GIFfany and tells Melody to stay behind with Dipper and Mabel because they'll protect her, and she points out, Soos, these are children. And she's like, it works for me because Melody is outside of these adventures until this point, and she is an outsider to the world of Gravity Falls in a sense. And we are used to Dipper and Mabel being action heroes, but we forget that normal people see them as 12-year-olds, and it reminds me of like...
It's almost a little bit of Frank Grimes energy.
Oh, I was saying Chalmers.
Because a little Chalmers as well, yeah. Chalmers is sitcom proof.
Chalmers and Frank Grimes on The Simpsons are both characters that are written...
That show that Kyle's never seen.
Yes, they are written as though they have not used to the world of Springfield and how everyone there is ridiculous, but how they handle it, Chalmers just shrugs it off and accepts it at a certain point.
Well, first he asks questions when things don't make sense, and when the explanation doesn't make sense, Chalmers is like, I don't actually care that much.
Right, but Frank Grimes can never get to that acceptance point and ends up getting himself killed as a result of it. And Melody is somewhere in between there, where she's like, this is weird, right? Like, everything that's happening right now, but she also is a very accepting person, ultimately.
However, she doesn't react like that to a computer monster taking over the Chuck E. Cheese's. And then when Soos apologizes for that happening, she says, well, it's not the worst date I've been on. Never date a magician. So what magic has she witnessed that has previously ruined a date?
Yeah, that's true.
What did that magician do?
I wonder if that was something they intended to get back to.
Well, she did mention she's from Portland.
Somewhere in Portland, a magician caused an equally horrific scene on a date.
Yeah, well, a more horrific scene.
Yes, that is true. A more horrific scene.
Okay, so Abuelita is back in this episode, and she spies on Soos, which is funny, but also...
When we last talked about Abuelita in Gideon Rises, and we talked about all of the portraits of Soos in the house, I remember Alexa saying, like, that is her, Soos is her thing. That is what she is interested in. And I was like, if only you knew. Once again, Alexa being right about everything.
She does say that Soos's life is her soap opera, and...
I obviously, I don't know. I'm at this point with jokes about parent figures being terrible where I don't actually think of them as horrific because it's just normal to me.
Then you will have no issues watching the Mitchells versus the Machine.
That is also true. I had the issue of I saw every plot beat coming. But
yeah, we both, because we've watched too many movies, but...
No, I love the joke that she effectively stalks her grandson. I mean, yeah, it is a little problematic, I guess. But
it works also because... How? How did she stalk him through hoo-has? How did she appear in the ball pit?
She also watched a battle between him and a robot and, like, didn't intervene.
Didn't do anything.
She didn't, like, even, like, perk up in her seat. She stayed hidden.
Yeah. We get Emmy Cicierega storyboarding
Yay.
for the first time on Gravity Falls.
The co-creator of Potter Puppet Pals. Became a storyboarder on season 2 of Gravity Falls, and her first scene is when old Goldie, the ancient and broken gold panning robot that Stan has, breaks down and starts bleeding oil out of his mouth.
And screeching.
Yes, and you know what? Now that I know that's Emmy, now that I know that a Cicierega drew that, I'm like, of course. Yeah, no, who else could that have been?
No, I remember being super excited when I found out that Emmy was going to be storyboarding on the show. I think this was her first professional storyboarding gig because I was already familiar with her artwork, particularly on DeviantArt. Have you guys ever seen her 50s housewife character?
It's the one with if only that could clean that filthy mouth of yours.
Yes.
Now get the fuck out of my house.
I was just, right before we got to this episode, I was showing Ella a lot of her compilation of Disney comics. Like Grandmother Willow trying to climb out of the tree.
Oh, right. I forgot about those, yeah.
I will date Kokum for you. No, Grandma, it's okay, really. It's fine, don't worry.
Which potentially led to Ariel Needs Legs, because the caption on Ariel Needs Legs is, I asked Emmy to draw this, and she said no, so I did it myself. That was done by her brother, Neil Cicierega, Lemon Demon.
Right, who we dedicated a lot of time to in our first episode.
Neil applied for a job as the composer and lost it to Brad Breek, so we did not get a Cicierega on the staff of the show as a mainstay until now.
And so this entire B-plot with Stan and old Goldie is amazing, because Wendy's involvement is literally just commenting on how stupid it is.
She's like, hey, this is upsetting. You're upsetting me. You're obsessed with this thing, and it really doesn't make any sense to me, and you should probably... And he's just like, she just doesn't understand.
What was the freeze frame gag on her magazine again?
Oh, Avoid Eye Contact Monthly.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Simpsons magazine.
There's a sweet moment where Stan falls, like, jumping out of the window, and she says, I'll go get your orthopedic back pillow. I love just the implication that they have some type of connection outside of work.
I love that Stan only is a man in his 60s when it is convenient for the story.
Exactly.
Like this and the hearing aid in Gideon Rises and are never mentioned again.
But yeah, I find it really amusing that Wendy is just the straight man to Stan's ridiculousness in this B-plot, because they could so easily be on the same page about most things in life. It's just this animatronic badger that Stan is obsessed with.
But also,
that Wendy's like,
Wendy as the straight man is really fun. Like, I like Linda Cardellini's delivery of straight man dialogue.
This is literally too dumb for me to care about.
And also just her trying to uplift Soos and Stan going, would you date him? Hey, look at that. So the ending montage, we get the song Cash Money, performed by John DiMaggio, yeah?
2K! Cash money! In the car with honey! Travel way too fast! I got water in my glass! Cash money! Private planes! You can't stop the party! Cash money! We're old but we're awesome! We're gonna get married! It's a great idea! Who are you to judge? This was a mistake! What?
The way it was written is fascinating. It was written originally, the first draft of it was just Alex Hirsch and Jeff Rowe improvising it in the booth. And then I'm imagining, I don't think it would be unfair to guess that Matt listened to that recording and wrote a short song from lines from it. But yeah, and then John DiMaggio sings it in a Lil Wayne impression where he's just
oh my god, that is what that
scream
is.
rapping. John DiMaggio was in a rap group when he was younger. Like, that was his first claim to fame. He was a beatboxer.
Oh.
The slides that they show on Stan and Goldie's trip to Vegas are great too. My favorite being them drinking rich people water. Like, clearly labeled rich people water for the censors.
And it straight up ends with them getting married. Like,
getting
for
married
real.
by an Elvis impersonator.
Yep. And so now Stan is he is a married character. We cannot say that he is single anymore.
Aww, I was ready to mingle.
That was like half Neil Hamburger, that voice.
I know, because I associate him just with aww. Toby, I mean, yeah.
Can I tell you guys about my weird relationship with John DiMaggio?
Yes.
Yes, please.
So he knows who I am, and I don't know why.
Well, that's fascinating. Do go on. I love this already.
I kept ending up in situations where it's like, oh man, John DiMaggio's in here, but I don't like. I certainly know of him, but I would feel weird just approaching him apropos of nothing. And then he would say, "Hi, Kyle," at the moment I had to leave the room.
Why?
I don't know why he did this. It would just like, I remember two instances in particular where like I was in, I think, the first time was probably the Cartoon Network green room. And then I had to like go start recording something for MAGISWORDS. And then he did that. And then I was like, but I have to go in there. What the hell?
Now that's the next mystery on this podcast, huh?
I suppose so, but where could we go to investigate mysteries?
Oh, well, I'm glad you asked. Actually, why don't we have our docent guide us there? Where are we going?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how this...
Right this way where?
I don't know how this works.
Okay, so that's all right. It's your first day.
Yeah.
You're supposed to...
I get it. First day jitters. It happens to everybody.
So this is the point of the tour where you take the guests over to the Hall of Conspiracies. So can you give us like a right this way or sort of thing?
Hey, you kooky nutty kids. Let's go over to the Hall of Conspiracies.
Thank you so much, Kyle. That was... You know what? I think you might be in our top 5 docents.
Yay!
How many do we have,
How many
Ella?
have we had? I don't know. I was asking you.
Oh my goodness, do we have 7? That's a lot. Kyle, you're definitely in our top 10 docents.
Awesome. Look, I know Alexa's number 1. We don't need to mince words.
This was posted to the TV Tropes Wild Mass Guesses page. It says, GIFfany isn't actually an AI. GIFfany manages to do things that a disk-based program wouldn't be able to do, such as interacting with things even when the disk isn't connected to anything. It's not that she just copied her own code either, as she does when the disk is destroyed.
Dies.
As she dies. Sorry, there are many scratches on my phone. Hey, listeners, pledge to the Patreon if you want me to be able to read all the letters on my screen.
Not just some of them.
I know, I have to pick and choose, and there's a lot of guesswork that goes into me reading these.
Won't you please buy a vowel for Charlie?
It's not that she just copied her own code either, as she dies when the disk is destroyed. As a result, she can't actually be just an AI and is some other form of supernatural being who either thinks she's an AI or was masquerading as one for some reason.
Plus, the graphics are too good to be on disc.
Yeah, what about the can we talk about the graphics?
The good graphics.
Good graphics. Good graphics.
I love this energy.
And this is the weirdest episode. This is going to be the first episode where our listeners are like, I'm not sure if I listened to a podcast or joined someone else's road trip mid-conversation.
Yeah. This comes to us from the Gravity Falls subreddit by the user Jaibow. Anyone else see the blind eye symbol outside during the Grunkle Stan and Badger fight scene? And indeed, after Old Goldie has defeated Willie Badger and Stan is celebrating with him on the dumpster to their right, we can see the same symbol that was in the end cards of Dipper's Guide to the Unexplained, and it's actually been seen other places around town thus far.
It probably doesn't mean anything. It's probably just like the snail in Adventure Time.
It's like an aesthetic choice.
Similarly, Powers and Trigger can be seen at the mall. The agents that were investigating Gravity Falls in Season 2, Episode 1.
They've been reappearing in almost every episode since.
Should we have our docent read this next one?
Ooh.
Yes, I believe we should, Charlie.
Okay. The binary on the computer screen during GIFfany's backstory translates to Space Jam 2.
That is correct.
Which is a reference to a film now known as Space Jam: A New Legacy, but I think it was in development hell since Space Jam.
Yeah, it was like kind of just it was kind of a glorified rumor at that point in time, I think.
Were we up to Spy Jam? Were we up to Golf Jam?
No, this was the point where we were saying, they're making a new Space Jam with LeBron, and everyone said, no, they're not. Come on.
Yeah.
That was where we were as a society at this point.
But I think it's hilarious that there's a Space Jam Easter egg in an episode that we're talking about with Kyle.
Now, my question is, because Paul Robertson was not doing the backgrounds in Fight Fighters, because Rumble was interacting with Ian Wardle's backgrounds, but the backgrounds are pixel here. GIFfany only shows up on screens.
Yeah, it's definitely Paul Robertson.
Yeah, so my question is, was putting Space Jam 2 in that scene and the Shrek shirt in the scene of What Other Girls Are Like Paul's contribution?
I'm gonna say I think the Shrek shirt was Paul, but I think the Space Jam joke was Alex. Alex loves making jokes about Space Jam.
That's true.
And basketball movies.
Well, I mean, possibly Paul was working off of a storyboard, even though he did the animation for this, and he clearly translated it very thoroughly into his style. Point. But those might have already been in the improved storyboard.
Okay, what would that? Hold on. I can't talk for a second. There is a very loud siren.
It's the Space Jam police.
Oh, no.
I hate the Space Jam police. No, it's they're actually, it's an ambulance that's going to come and stick a bicycle pump in my mouth.
Oh, make you really muscular.
No, I'm going to blow up into a big CG balloon that scanned my face. And then when the pump falls out of my mouth, I'm going to make fart sounds and fly around the room.
I see.
And then be pulled out in a stretcher.
Kids love Wayne Knight.
Okay. Yes, his inclusion in that movie is strange. However, he is the best part of Space Jam.
Yeah.
Next to Bill Murray. But he's the best part of Space Jam in regards to those who are saying the lines in the script.
Charlie, don't worry. Bill Murray.
Hey, Kyle, have yourself a Murray Little Christmas.
Aww.
So the fact that it appears on the computer screen of the video game employee that GIFfany murders implies that they were working on Space Jam 2 and GIFfany murdered the people working on it, so now it'll never happen.
but it did.
That's my interpretation.
But it did have. Uh-oh, I think I found a timeline split. Listen, as a Zelda fan, I know how to look for these.
Oh, I see.
If GIFfany murders.
Does GIFfany know algae rhythm?
Oh my god, I think you're right. I think we just busted this thing wide open. That's our own conspiracy.
The staging of that shot resembles Portal.
Yep.
And the animation of a lightning bolt coming out of a screen and hitting someone is directly from Tokimeki Memorial. Not that the pixels are directly, but that is something that comes from, like, not that he ripped sprites and did this like a 2000 webcomic, but that is something that happens in that game. That is a reference.
So we previously expressed a lot of confusion over the Visionaire cipher, which is what they're doing in the credits now, but unrelated human.
Who's not related to us, unrelated human.
Unrelated human on our Discord server, which you can join, link in the description, explained it to us as follows. Visionaire ciphers basically work the same as the Caesar cipher, which is 3 letters back in this show, but instead of the whole message being shifted a certain number of spaces in the alphabet, every individual letter in the cryptogram is shifted, with each letter being shifted by different amounts. The key essentially tells you how many times to shift each letter in the message to decode it.
So does that make any more sense to you now, Ella?
A little bit.
Okay, so you're now loading. You have a progress bar towards under.
Yes, I do.
I'm still at 0, baby.
I know it also requires kind of a grid system you need to make to decode, but
I still do not. I have dyscalculia, so one out one ear and in the wait. Hey, do you think my ear will have like a weird paperclip in it for no reason?
God willing.
That's another Space Jam reference.
So the credits cryptogram this episode translates to Enfi Dinken Hadplan, and the key is Barrow, which is found on a pizza box in the kitchen of Hoo-Ha's. And fun fact, in the previous episode in the background, when Dipper was trying to hack into the laptop, there was a list of codes, and they were all the previous keys to the Visionaire cipher, except one of them was Barrow, and that's because it's this episode's key. Which is fascinating to me, makes me wonder about the production order of some of these episodes. Do you want to say/sing the end card cipher, Charlie?
Winning hearts by daylight, possessing robots by moonlight. Her emotional baggage is a real fright. She has the one named GIFfany. She has the one! GIFfany! That's not in the song, but that's in the Sailor Moon song, which is a reference to the Deke translation of the Pretty Guardians Sailor Moon theme song from the 90s series. Which is fascinating because most people who were translating anime at that point did not just ask for the instrumental and translate the song. They made a new song so they could sell it to people for money. Without having to pay someone else. But so it's a good song. It's a very good song, and I think that must be why they kept it. But it is an interesting reference in that GIFfany has nothing to do with Sailor Moon.
No.
She is a Japanese girl in a high school. So Tokimeki Memorial has as much to do with Sailor Moon as, I don't know, Back to the Future has to do with Monster High.
You think the Teen Wolf goes to Monster High?
I don't. I think the high school in Teen Wolf had a canonical name that I am not remembering.
Oh. And it wasn't Monster.
No, that would be funny. I don't think Teen Wolf was aiming to be a very tongue-in-cheek movie.
No?
No.
Then why'd they call it Teen Wolf?
That's a great
hilarious
point. Kyle, why don't you weigh in on this situation?
Now, Teen Wolf, the movie, the sequel, the TV series, or the animated series?
The sequel, of course, is called Teen Wolf 2. And the plot of Teen Wolf 2 is that Jason Bateman has to reenact the events of the film Teen Wolf. He's forced to by film producers.
Oh, I know. The Fiends. They're the villains.
It's like Teen Wolf, except for it's in a hotel in New York City this time.
Hang on, were you talking about Gremlins 2 in regards to Teen
No,
Wolf 2?
I was talking about Home Alone 2, but that's hilarious.
Wait, how many sequels take place in an office building in a city? When the original took place in a suburb? Was this a trope?
You know, Maybe it is.
There's a song that plays at the school dance in Teen Wolf, which I think about constantly, because Teen Wolf has the worst soundtrack I've ever heard.
It's the anti-Space Jam.
Yes, yeah, because I like the movie all right, but the sound, sometimes when the score starts playing, I literally cover my ears. But the song that teenagers dance to in their gymnasium for fun goes, well, you sure don't look like no grandma. And at first I was like, why would anyone sing that? I'm like, all right, Big Bad Wolf. Yeah, on the nose. Got it. But
and then you're like, I must be mishearing these lyrics.
There's a couple measures of music before they continue singing. So I had to just sit there with like, yeah, I don't. What?
Well, you sure don't.
And the teens
look
are like, yeah,
grandma.
we're not grandparents. I love this song.
Hey, don't look like my grandma. Hey.
Oh, now we got the Kyle Carrozza cover. TV's Kyle. So TV's Kyle, tell us about TV's Kyle. What is TV's Kyle?
I don't know if you want me to get really existential if you're asking me to plug myself.
Can we say that we've really met Kyle when Kyle has always been at a microphone when talking to us and thus performing?
Oh, I don't know. Anyway, so if you would like to hear my music under the name TV's Kyle, you can go to tvskyle.bandcamp.com. I have an animation podcast with my buddy Luke called Kyle and Luke Talk About Toons, which you could find at kyleandluke.com. If you want to see me post the fun drawings, you can either catch me at TV's Kyle, TVSKYLE, no apostrophe, on Twitter or on Instagram. And that's about the size of it. If you want to watch that show I made or whatever called Mighty MAGISWORDS, you can watch it on Hulu or HBO Max. I'm currently working on the Snoopy show. None of my episodes have aired yet, but when they do, they will be on Apple TV.
Woo!
I love the different streaming services in that if you want to watch the whole
oeuvre.
You want to watch the whole oeuvre of Kyle Carrozza, you need to subscribe to four different things. Don't pirate any of it though, because we want our main man here to get some royalties.
Although, there are also a lot of online-only episodes of Mighty MAGISWORDS or ones that were made for the app that,
you will have to pirate. There's someone who's been uploading them to YouTube. Who knows who that is?
Yeah, some sneaky person keeps taking obscure animation that isn't available on the internet and putting them on a secret YouTube account. Some crazy bastard.
That is a crime. That is actually called piracy. And you know how I feel about piracy. Up top, Kyle!
It's one of your favorite things.
Oh, yeah. Check out my old cartoon, Moobeard the Cow Pirate, on YouTube because it's not available anywhere else.
It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if it has Jimmy Neutron bumpers at the bottom, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
This wasn't ripped from Nickelodeon without their permission.
That's not a better copy than the one I left the studio with.
If you want to find more episodes of this podcast, go to our host network, pipedreampodcast.com, where you can find other shows like Escape from Walt Disney, which, why, Kyle? I believe you've been on inside that vault once or twice, perhaps.
Oh, enough times to do my guest choice episode, which was on the Roger Rabbit shorts.
Nice.
So check out the Escape from Walt Disney episode on the Roger Rabbit shorts, and also if you are interested in checking out the Listener's Choice episode by our patron David Gansel, aka Doggins, it does not exist and may never.
Yeah, he's just keeping that one in his back pocket.
Forever, until the end of time.
You can also check out How Did This Not Get Made and Come On Fahookwa Pods.
Oh wait, Kyle's been on that? What? Oh my goodness.
My gosh. You're a regular on the pipe dream.
I'm living that pipe dream life.
Yeah.
On pipedreampodcasts.com. You can also find a link to our show's social medias, Discord server, and our Patreon. Patreon.com/Mystery Shack. Those who pledge for just $3 will get a shout out at the end of the episodes by some Sooses, which you will hear soon. And those who pledge $5 can join us in the Discord tonight because you, Ella, me, someone else, we're going to be watching Gravity Falls, Soos, and the Real Girl.
Oh my goodness. And pledging $40 will get you a voice commission from Charley or an art commission from myself. So patreon.com/Mystery Shack.
And you can contact us at mysteryshacklookback@gmail.com if you have any stories about your experience in the Gravity Falls fandom or any stories based on the various tangents we told today.
So many.
Thank you to Brian for making the instrumental for our theme song, and thank you to Kyle Carrozza.
Hey.
For doing the voiceover in the Hall of Conspiracies intro. You're a docent now, Kyle.
Woo! Congratulations, you have succeeded at your first day of docentry.
And the music that played under your voiceover, Kyle, is a song called Lentil Dentist. It is a remix of my Guide to Neil Cicierega segment from our first episode. There is a link to listen to that song in the description. It is really good.
Adam, Spittleman, I know the holiday probably just took a lot out of you, but, thank you for coming in and sucking out our spit anyway,
So, you know how I've been, practicing singing and stuff? I'm not really any good at it yet, at all. But I sang you a song, and I was kind of hoping that I could show it to you because I worked really, really hard on it. So, yeah.
Every day, I imagine a future where I can be with you. In my hand is a pen that will write a poem of me and you. The ink flows down into a dark bottle. Just move your hand right the way into his heart. But in this world of infinite choices, what will it take just to find that special day? What will it take just to find that special day? Have I found everybody a fun assignment to do today? When you're here, everything that we do is fun for them anyway. When I can't even read my own feelings, what good are words when a smile says it all? And if this world won't write me an ending, what will it take just for me to have it all? Does my pen only write bitter words for those who are dear to me? Is it love if I take you, or is it love if I set you free? The ink flows down into a dark bottle. How can I write love into reality? And if I can't hear the sound of your heartbeat, what do they call love in your reality? And in your reality, if I don't know how to love you, I'll leave you be.
Oh, hey, Magazine Soos.
Oh, hey, Soos.
You want to give some patron shoutouts with me?
Oh, I love listing things.
All right. Thank you, too.
Daddy Driftwood.
Daddy Buttons.
Juno Series.
Gwen Prime.
Junior Bra.
Friendly Local Geek.
Fun Boringness.
Hugh Salinas.
David Gansel.
Ryan Faber.
Stephen Patrick Maholland. And Oliver Pluto. We are going to use that money to procure snacks.
Send us some more snack procuring money over at patreon.com/mysteryshack.